So I have been running a series on my channel lately about crazy secrets from every generation and region of Pokemon that you may not know about. And with the release of the Teal Mask DLC for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet that introduced the land of Kitakami, which is kind of its own region, I have decided to do the same thing for this DLC too. So let's go ahead and take a look at some insane secrets that you may not know about from the Teal Mask DLC. The secrets of today's video are being brought to you thanks in part to today's lovely sponsor, the Ridge. And while Ridge make amazing wallets, which you probably know them for, they're now also introducing rings to their offerings as well. Whether you just enjoy wearing rings for style, or you're planning to tie the knot, a Ridge ring is an excellent way to go. I'm personally not much of a ring guy myself, so I always wondered what I would do about wearing one whenever I ended up getting married, but Ridge kinda solves that problem for me with these rings. They have the perfect level of style to them, and they're also made from materials like titanium, forged carbon, and tungsten carbide, which makes them super durable and scratch resistant. They also come with a silicone band as well when the situation calls for it, and they are also completely covered by Ridge's 99-day risk-free trial, and they're never lost and forever fit protection. This means that if you ever lose your ring or your ring size changes, Ridge will give you up to 2 replacements over the ring's lifetime, completely free of charge. As an anti-ring person myself, these rings have honestly won me over, and I'm sure they'll win you over too. So be sure to check them out with the link in the description, and when you use code HOOPS at checkout, you can even get 10% off your order while helping out the channel at the same time. So again, check that out with the link below, and a big thank you to Ridge for supporting the channel. Okay, so naturally, there are going to be spoilers for the DLC in this video if you still don't want to see those, so consider this your official warning. With that said though, let's go ahead and get into these secrets. The first one seems like a good way to start us off, and although it has technically been around for a while before the Teal Mask was even revealed, it's still pretty cool. In the base Scarlet and Violet games, a poster advertising the Teal Mask and the Festival of Masks in Kitakami can be seen posted at the Treasure Eatery in Medali, and was present here before the DLC was even announced, meaning that it was an intentional tease for eagle-eyed players of what was to come. Another cool thing about the connection between Paldea and Kitakami is that whenever it is daytime in Paldea, it will be nighttime if you decide to travel over to Kitakami, and vice versa. This is naturally meant to illustrate that the two regions are very far apart in the Pokemon world, and is also a very nice attention to detail. One of the new Pokemon introduced in Kitakami is of course Dipplin. Dipplin evolves from Applin with the help of the Syrupy Apple, which is a new evolutionary item that can only be found in Kitakami at the moment via this DLC. And something that's really interesting about the Syrupy Apple is that you can actually sell it for more money than you would need to buy it, meaning that you can literally make a bunch of money just by buying a bunch of Syrupy apples and then selling them back for a profit. Let's go ahead and look at something big now. This technically isn't a secret of the Teal Mask, but rather the Indigo Disk that was discovered via data mining of the Teal Mask. So one more extra spoiler warning goes here if you don't want to hear this, although it is just information and not any actual visuals. Based on the aforementioned data mining of the Teal Mask DLC, which comes courtesy of Matt Yukana on Twitter, it seems to be the case that Terapagos might be getting an additional form on top of its regular and terrestrial forms, as it is seemingly mentioned in the data mine to have 2 additional forms on top of its regular form, and so far we've only seen its terrestrial form in this regard. From what I can see, this isn't technically 100% certain beyond a shadow of a doubt, but it seems very likely. So it'll be very interesting to see what this additional form of Terapagos could be, given that we've already been introduced to its terrestrial form. This is, of course, a video about the Teal Mask though, so let's go ahead and talk about Ogerpon now. Upon revealing its true face behind its mask, Ogerpon's face is revealed to be a striking orange color, which, at least to me, was rather surprising. However, there is an explanation for its surprising facial color, and that is that Ogerpon's face is meant to be a peach, since the story of the Teal Mask is based on the tale of Momotaro from Japanese folklore, or Peach Boy as it translates to in English. This can also be seen thanks to the leaf on Ogerpon's forehead, as well as the stem that's on top of its head, making its head basically just one big giant peach. There are even more references to the Momotaro story in the game as well though, such as the name of the shop owner in Mosui Town, Peachy, who gets her name from this story as well. There is also another funny thing that goes on with Peachy here too, as if you try to buy something at her shop with League points, she will say that she doesn't accept League points and asks if that's some kind of cryptid currency, which is obviously in reference to cryptocurrency. However, if you attempt to pay with LP 3 times, she will eventually relent and say that she will in fact start accepting LP as a form of payment. Yet another cool thing from Peachy's shop is this mysterious plush doll looking thing that sits on her counter. I've talked about this before and how it's most likely a secret yet to be revealed Pokemon that is a 4th member or trio master of the Loyal 3 in this video, so be sure to check that out for the full explanation, but something that lends itself even more to the fact that it is going to have some importance later on is the fact that you can interact with this object even though the game doesn't reveal to you that you can observe or inspect it. If you attempt to though, by pressing A next to it like you normally would, a description of it will appear on screen saying that it appears to be old and dusty and appears to be some kind of mysterious decoration. Perrin is another cool character in this DLC, and while it might be pretty obvious that she is the descendant of Adaman from Legends Arceus, what's slightly more obstructed is that on the back of her jeans, she has a pentagon symbol, just like Adaman does on his clothes as well. And no, I was not looking at her butt, okay? This was purely a scientific observation. Perrin obviously leads you into the side quest that has you obtaining the Bloodmoon Ursaluna, and while immensely cool, I also find it extremely fitting and possibly intentional that this very moon-themed Pokemon was included in this DLC, which released in September, which is also the month in which the Japanese moon viewing festival known as Tsukimi is typically held. Which, again, seems very fitting and possibly even intentional, given that Kitakami and the Teal Mask DLC is very Japanese-inspired. This part of the DLC is actually littered with fun references, as another really fun one is when you begin the search for Bloodmoon Ursaluna, several music tracks from Pokemon Legends Arceus, where Ursaluna and Perrin's ancestor Adaman originate from, can be heard. You can hear the Heartwood theme while conducting the photo survey, the Caution Wild Pokemon theme when Ursaluna approaches, and the Wild Pokemon battle theme from Legends Arceus when battling Ursaluna. Even the name of this area itself is a bit of a reference too, as this entire side quest occurs within the Timeless Woods, which is basically the same name as Eterna Forest, just using slightly different words. This is even more prevalent in Japanese though, as the Japanese name for this location is Eternity Forest. Since we're on the subject of names though, let's talk about some more, and in particular the names of Billy and Onair. These two are a rich couple that are a part of a side quest in the Teal Mask, and in case it just kinda flew over your head, their names, Billy and Onair, are a play on the term billionaire because they're so rich. Blueberry Academy is obviously the setting of the second DLC, the Indigo Disk, but it does play somewhat of a role in the Teal Mask as well. At the beginning of the DLC, it is revealed that Blueberry Academy is in Unova, which is really exciting, but this was kind of alluded to a little bit in its name, as unlike Naranja and Uva Academy, who use Spanish words and are from the Spanish-inspired Paldea region, Blueberry Academy obviously uses the English blueberry in its name, suggesting an English connection, which sure enough it does indeed have in being located in Unova. Let's go ahead and now look at Kieran's name as well, because the etymology of his name actually alludes to his darker side. According to Bulbapedia, many of Kieran's names in the various languages of the games come from words that incorporate the terms black or dark, which is definitely an homage to how his character becomes darker and more antagonistic as the DLC goes on. Part of this darkness can even be seen for a split second during the cutscene when the Loyal 3 are revived. When Kieran punches their monument in frustration, a strange purple energy can very faintly be seen emanating from Kieran's fist for a brief moment, which could be what caused the Loyal 3 to be revived in the first place. If you want more of an explanation on how Kieran could connect to the Loyal 3 and some of the other stuff involving secret Pokemon we've talked about here, be sure to check out this aforementioned video. Kieran, of course, also has a sister though, and her name is Carmine. Each sibling has a similar hairstyle, with dark colored hair on the outside and it being highlighted on the inside. Carmine's hair is highlighted red, or scarlet you might say, while Kieran's is purple, or violet as you might call it, which is very possibly in reference to the Scarlet and Violet games. This was first brought to my attention, by the way, by this commenter on one of my previous videos, so a big shout out goes to them. Another cool thing about Kieran is that while he is simply mentioned to be a teenager in most versions of the game, in the French version he is specifically mentioned to be 14 years old, which, to be honest, checks out pretty well based on how he acts throughout the DLC. Kieran is also, of course, enamored with Ogerpon, which plays a big role in the story. But what's interesting about Ogerpon is that it's not actually from Kitakami, despite being the mascot box art legendary of this DLC. In the story that explains Ogerpon's true backstory, Kieran's grandpa explains that Ogerpon came to Kitakami with an unknown man from a foreign land. He also mentions that the Terra crystals in the masks, which allow Ogerpon to terastalize and have its own Terra forms, originated from the man which he brought from somewhere far away, which seems to be implying that the man, and therefore Ogerpon, are actually possibly from Paldea. In fact, in this same story, it's also revealed that the Loyal 3, despite being revered in the land of Kitakami, are also not originally from here either. It states in the story that the Loyal 3 made their way to the land of Kitakami after hearing about Ogerpon's masks in order to steal them, meaning that they also come from some other region as well. With all of these new legendaries also come new legendary shiny forms, but sadly, as you might expect, they are shiny locked, meaning that you can't naturally obtain these shiny forms in the games. Therefore, you very well may have not seen these shiny forms yet, and so, if you haven't, here they are. These shiny locked Pokemon include Ogerpon, the Loyal 3, and Bloodmoon Ursaluna. While you can't normally encounter the shinies of the Loyal 3 though, there are still a lot of cool details about them in the game that you can observe. Like, for instance, that all of the moves that they learn via leveling up, they learn at levels which are multiples of 8. 8 is considered a lucky number in Japanese culture, which obviously is the inspiration for the Teal Mask, meaning that this was likely done as a reference to the heroic nature that the Loyal 3 are thought by the townspeople to have. However, the Loyal 3 are obviously not heroic, and are in fact villains in this story. Don't fret though, because Game Freak accounted for this as well with another beautiful reference. In Japan, there exists a form of wordplay known as Gorowase, which basically applies verbal meanings to numbers, allowing one to construct phrases and messages out of numbers. According to Bulbapedia, the number 88 can be read in Gorowase as terrible or dangerous, which of course alludes to the Loyal 3's true nature. This number can even be seen in their base stats as well, as even though their stat distributions are all different, they all have a shared HP stat of 88. Meanwhile, something that's quick and easy, but also kind of funny, is that the area known as the Infernal Pass, which appears on Oni Mountain, is actually known as Hell Valley in Japanese and Chinese, which sounds a bit intense for a Pokemon game. And last but not least, we have got something very interesting as it pertains to what might be coming next for Pokemon. I've already spoke heavily in previous videos about the huge connections between Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and the Unova games, and the possibility of a new Unova game possibly coming next year. If you want the full scoop on that, you can check this video out for more info, but since that video, we have also learned via the DLC that Blueberry Academy is in the Unova region, which seems to add even more fuel to the fire. Now there is even more to add on to this though, as it's been noted by Damian Victini on Twitter that there are some crystals that appear in Pokemon Black and White 2 that look extremely similar to Terra crystals. Now, these appear in Drift Vale City, and in the context of Black and White 2, they are obviously present because Clay, the leader of the Drift Vale Gym, is a prominent businessman and miner. However, given the loads of Unova connections I have discussed previously, it's hard not to see this as even more connective tissue between Scarlet and Violet and the Unova games, and possibly as something that could be used later on to connect them even further. And it seems at this point that Game Freak is definitely intentionally connecting the two together, at the very least for this upcoming DLC, the Indigo Disk, but even potentially for an upcoming Unova game of some kind, be it a Legends game, a remake, whatever, that explores these themes even more. And with that said, those are 25 insane secrets from the Teal Mask that you may have not known about. Be sure to let me know all of your thoughts in the comments below, and leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more if you're new. Also, be sure to check out my Pokemon remixes on Spotify or wherever you get your music, because that greatly supports the channel as well right back here and is very much appreciated. With that said, I will be back very soon with another video, and until then, as always, thank you guys so much for watching this one. I really appreciate it, and I will smell you guys later.